You're listening to the Valley Current.
There's a big case in San Jose, we should remark at this point, against the founders and the CEO of Theranos, which was this major fraud case that had to do with them thinking, and it actually does tie to Walgreens too, because Walgreens agreed to set up these blood repository centers, not for donating blood, for actually doing the pinprick measurement of the blood sample that would right there on a little device the size of a little printer allow you to put the sample in and have it do all these tests. And then you would be able to track with your smartphone, because your smartphone then becomes the repository for the data. So you would be able to do presumably a very full, over time, they would add more and more tests. I mean, that was the goal. And they saw it as this was going to revolutionize medicine, because people would really start to track their blood and their blood data in a way that we typically don't even necessarily do once a year. I think some people do it once a year, or maybe even more than once a year if you have some cholesterol or other types of issues that make your doctor prescribe a lipid panel and the like. But so your point is, hey, we've got this great tools out there, but people don't really use them. They don't ask optionally. Like, I always thought the way to get people to donate blood was offer them we will give you your blood results. But I think the people that take the donations don't want to be responsible for doing that, because they're worried that they may have to tell people, hey, you have, hepatitis, or you have, HIV. Like, they worry that if we start reporting, it might be dangerous to get into the business of practicing medicine inside of bloodmobile, that sort of thing. But, I do agree with you that there's a lot of information that's captured out of blood. I'm curious whether telomere length will eventually be something that will become more routine at the medical level, at the level of annual examination, or even
even if it does become routine, the interpretation of it still remains to be determined. There is no absolutely incontrovertible fact to come out of telomere measurement, whether it's long or short, or becomes longer or shorter. There is no unanimity of view that those changes have any significance in respect to human health.
Right.
Now, it may happen in the future, but as of today, the answer is, why do it?
Right. Your point is, if you think that you're going to take a blood sample and measure telomeres and then say, look, my name is Dr. Len Hayflick. My mom lived to 106 and a half or so. And my telomeres compared to her telomeres suggest that I should live to 120. So I'm going to pay attention to that data and make sure I have enough savings or have enough whatever to make sure I can financially last that long. That's not data that you imagine will happen anywhere in the near future. You're not going to get that kind of interpretation.
There's another very significant complication that people rarely address who look at telomere changes, and that is that the telomere changes that are measured are from a single blood sample, or the cells that are contained in a sample of blood, or a tissue sample. Those represent, let's say, 1 million cells. Well, whatever results you get from the telomere measurements in that tiny, tiny fraction of cells from specific tissues like blood or skin does not tell you what's happening in the cells, in the telomeres of cells in 99.9% of your body. And there's another complication that's even more just as significant. And that is that you're measuring telomere changes in one cell.
Right.
And you're measuring it not only in one cell, but in one chromosome of the 46 chromosomes in that single cell. You don't know what's happening to the telomeres in the other chromosomes of that single cell. So the complexity is enormous. And the interpretation of what's being done today is virtually impossible to understand.
So do you think it's a worthwhile effort to try to go down the path of trying? I mean, that article I sent suggested that it was worthwhile to go down the path of looking at what's impacting telomeres.
Well, there already is a company that does just that. A company founded by a former scientific grandson of mine, and I say that affirmatively. Unfortunately, he's now deteriorating, but this fellow is the one who discovered telomere attrition as it occurs in the system that I discovered. His name is Calvin Harley. And Cal Harley founded a company, which is still in existence, despite the fact that he's inactive. It's called Telocyte, TelocYte. You might want to look it up while we're talking.
Okay.
TelocYte.
Telocyte.
They're offering telomere measurements and interpreting them for the lay people who are willing to pay for whatever kind of measurements are being made. The interpretation is highly suspect.
Calvin Harley.
Calvin Harley.
Harley.
Yes.
Images of Cal Harley. It looks pretty young. He's got a paper here. It looks like, okay, hold on. Let me put this on the screen and see what you think of this.
Well, I've seen it, and that's why I made the remarks that I made.
Okay.
He's located not far from Palo Alto in that general area.
Yep. And I guess there's somebody else that's working with him.
Well, I got him his first job in this country. He's a Canadian, and I got him his job as scientific director of the Geron Corporation.
Oh yeah, sure. That's a famous company, right?
Well, I helped found that company with Mike West.
Wow, that became a pretty big company, as I recall, didn't it?
Well, no.
I guess there it is. Telocyte focuses on the development of telomerase therapy to treat Alzheimer's disease.
So that's changed from what it had been doing in the past.
Right. They seek to cure Alzheimer's now. So I guess you haven't been to this site recently. Right?
Well, this may have happened since Cal became inactive. Or let's go back to...
Okay, Cal Harley has a company, but it's got a different name, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's correct. And
So
I got them confused.
No problem. So let me look at Cal Harley and business and see what comes up for his business. Of course, Harley Davidson is what comes up. Of course, that would make sense. But it's Cal Harley telomere business, right?
Yes, because he discovered with...
There it is. It's Calvin Harley, president of Telomere Diagnostics, previously Telome Health, the company website. Go there, see what comes up. But you're saying this company was doing work, Telomere Diagnostics.
Doing what you're suggesting, that is measuring telomeres and telling people what the measurements mean, but it's highly suspect.
Well, now he's going into 24, 36-hour turnaround saliva COVID-19 tests. So they're definitely picking up on
change because they were not doing well.
Right.
Which is understandable. So this is new to me, the fact that they're going in telo years. That's what it was.
Right there. Telo years. Yeah, here it is. God, it's amazing how fast you can kind of pick up on this stuff. But this is really, there it is. It starts with a drop or two of blood, but your point is there's not enough data in
What's
that.
this going to tell you? Now, let's see what they're going to tell you. With knowledge of your DNA that empowers you with inspiration to improve bodily. So it's all vague stuff.
It's going to give you your current cellular age. Would you like to know that?
What does that mean?
Right. But it does have an overview about telomeres, and it does say something on what does age of my cells in teloyears mean. If your actual age is 56, but your teloyears are 68, then you're burning the candle at both ends. But if you're at 44, then you're doing better. By the way, there is something like this that doesn't have to do with blood, but has to do with just survey data that's called Real Age, realage.com. And Real Age tries to measure using just what you plug in, what your real age might be. Let's see if I find it, if it's still.
Well, don't bother. Let me tell you the following about that approach.
Yeah.
That approach has been used ever since I've been in the field of 60 years ago.
Right.
People have often taken one or more physiological changes or biological changes, usually a cluster of them,
right,
and said that the changes that occur in that cluster of toe length, hair color, sugar in the blood,
right,
are measures of how old you are,
right,
biologically. And that's been going on for decades and decades.
Right.
And it is going on today. It's meaningless. It's got no meaning whatsoever. No one has discovered a biological biomarker for age associated with chronological age.
Right.
It doesn't exist despite literally thousands of scientists and government-funded contracts and grants to find such an association.
Right.
Plain doesn't exist, but it's like faith in whatever. People have faith, and what can you do?
Well, people are after a holy grail of some sort because.
So what you're about to describe has been going on for at least 100 years.
Right.
Without significant results whatsoever. Well, I'm sorry to be so negative, but
no. I like the constructive, critical approach because I do think you're the expert in this area, and I'm always amazed.
I challenge anyone about whom I've spoken negatively in respect to their beliefs about the subject we discussed to tell me that I'm wrong and provide data proving that I'm wrong.
Right. Well, that's the right scientific way to do things. I'm sure President Trump would like to know what the length of his telomeres are because he probably wants to know if he might be shortening them because there is probably a lot of cortisol in his system, given how much stress he is. We'll tie this whole thing together by saying your remarks about President Trump have been right on now for probably going on nearly a year. We've been talking about him for quite a while. And your remarks about coronavirus have been right on as well. And so I'm going to assume that your remarks about telomeres and these telomere companies are right on as well. But maybe we could pick this up next week because there's a lot here to unpack. And I thought that article was intriguing and something you'd get a kick out of. And it certainly made me think that I could imagine Apple Computer must be saying to its engineers, well, gee, if our watch could only do this, we could sell it as a way to stay young. And everyone seems to want to stay young, even as we were all aging over time. We're all trying to stay young. It's just the way people think about things. So thanks for spending your time this afternoon.
Okay, Jack. Well, as usual, it's nice talking to you. And I wish you also a happy new year and a healthy new year as well.
Good. I hope we get together in another week. I'll come up with another topic for you to.
Still going to remain in Florida?
Well, the weather is a lot better here than I imagined it would be. And I guess the people tend to be more outdoorsy in this weather. And so I'm getting a lot more exercise. So I'm losing weight and increasing my stamina. So I feel like there's a little reverse aging. I'm actually eating less and exercising more. So my goal by the time this whole Florida episode is over, whenever that might be, is to get down to my original college look, which I actually have in front of me from time to time. I actually put this picture of what I looked like in college, and you're going to crack up if I find it. Let's see if I find it, because you're going to say, Jack, you're dreaming, but I keep this picture by my side of what it was like when I was this young man. I guess we're talking more like 30 something years ago. Let's see if I can find it. Sometimes I find it fast, sometimes I don't. And it's a great picture of me. Let me bring it up. Well, this is one of me with my mom in this very thin look, which I'll put up on the screen. That's me. That's how thin I was. You can see, and that's my mom. It's my mom back. I guess this was like in my 20s, if I think about this. But then I've got this other picture of myself that dates back from when I was in my 30s. Of course, I'm not finding it now, which is too bad.
I need some pictures of me when I was just married.
Here you go. Let me show you. This is not. It's kind of granular, but that's the big smile of someone who is staying young with all of his hair at that time. So I keep it by my side saying, I have to get back to that person. Of course, you're saying, Jack,
I got bad news for you.
You got bad news. I appreciate you breaking the bad news to me. Anyway, you look great. Stay healthy. You're looking like you're taking care of yourself. That's good.
You too, Jack.
You take care. Talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Look forward to it. Bye-bye.
Tune in next time on The Valley Current.